Welcome to That's My Opinion Pod. I'm your host, Pedro Iglesias. Happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates. That's the reason I'm kind of doing a solo episode. Also, it's the 50th episode. That's very exciting. But yeah, it was kind of difficult this weekend to get a guest because everyone's traveling or with their family and wants to chill. So, solo episode for you guys this week. Now, I think I want to start with Beverly Hills. Great episode. I mean, this season is going to be phenomenal. I'm so excited for it. Then we'll get into Salt Lake, then we'll do Roni, and then we'll end with Potomac. Is there anyone I'm missing? No, I think that's all. So yeah, I mean, kind of hard to intro it more than that. So let's just get straight into it. Okay, Beverly Hills. I am officially on Dorit's side. And I'm on Dorit's side because I think Dorit is right. That Kyle is not upset about anything other than the comment Dorit made on Watch What Happens Live about Morgan. Like, it's also correlated because Dorit had said on Watch What Happens Live, I feel like my friendship has changed with Kyle since Morgan came into the picture. Like, Morgan kind of took my place. Whatever the exact comment was, I'm not sure. And then Kyle went on Amazon Live and said, we were never really that close. So those things make sense rather than her bringing up the BravoCon moment, which was obviously funny. Like, it doesn't add up, which makes me then on Dorit's side. And I also struggle with Kyle, and I'm a big Kyle fan, will always be a Kyle fan, but I'm struggling with Kyle because she's also saying, I was been going through a lot. It's been one of the hardest years of my life. Being super unaware of the fact that she's sitting across from someone who's also going through a really difficult time right now. And where is the support? Why are these women not connecting? And it's exactly what Erica Jane said in her confessional. Mo and PK are having the time of their life, and Kyle and Dorit are fighting. Like, what the fuck? It makes no sense. And it's sad to watch. And I would have loved to see these women come together rather than come apart, especially because they're both going through something so big. But, you know, kind of hard. And I also think Dorit, and I said it last week, I think Dorit's just projecting a lot of her anger on to her different relationships with the women. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And I don't necessarily think it's unjustified. But I think even like in the dinner with PK, which I'll get to in a second, she was like lacked a lot of emotion. And I think it's because it's being filmed. And I think she's aware of that. But that's why I think she's so much more comfortable showing that emotion and showing that anger in her friendships, and particularly in her friendship with Kyle. And in the confessionals where she's bitching and she's flicking off and she's going, here the fuck I am, it's because she's not able to show it in those moments with PK. That's my analysis. I obviously could be wrong, but that's how I feel about it. Now, in this episode, we also got to know Bose, who, I mean, where has she been on our entire lives? I am obsessed with her. Like, I'm obsessed with her vibe. I'm obsessed with her confidence. I think she's going to handle herself super well. I think she'll handle herself incredibly when it comes to drama. I think she'll be good in arguments. I think she'll bring a lightheartedness to the show. She brings intelligence to the show. Not that the other women aren't intelligent, but I mean, Bose is next level. And I'm just obsessed with the fact that Bose went from being corporate America to a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And if that's not girlhood, I don't know what is. Like, if that's not Barbie, I don't know what is. In the year of the Barbie movie, this makes sense. This makes sense. This casting makes sense. I'm obsessed with her. Her house is also beautiful. I want to know more about her story. I loved hearing about her husband who has sadly passed and just her vulnerability with that. And seeing this kind of storyline, I think is really important for women watching. I'm sure there are so many women watching who have been in similar situations, and seeing a woman on the other side of things, per se. I mean, obviously, she will always be grieving to a certain extent, but you could see she's able to laugh and have fun and still live a successful life, even though she's gone through one of the most difficult things a person could go through. I'm obsessed with her, and I hope she stays forever. And I think she will. I have a good feeling about her. What other moments in the episode, I loved the moment where Erica, Sutton, and Kathy went to Kyle's house. The way Kathy had me cackling was amazing because and I've said this before, I'm not usually like laughing out loud during Real Housewives episodes, but that moment had me laughing out loud. And also just the three of them. I would have never pictured them in a car together, maybe like a season or two ago. And they just jive so well. I love their vibes. And then I loved them all getting together and like talking about their failed marriages, obviously, besides Kathy, who's doing quite well in her life. But I thought it's very powerful. I will say, and I know the lunch between Sutton and Kyle happened earlier in the episode, but I do agree with Kyle. And I know people might call me crazy for that. I don't think Kyle's being naive about the way her divorce is going to go. I really genuinely don't. I do think her and Mo are different. I do think there's a respect there that surpasses anything because of the way that they both view family. And I will say, coming from my experience working in family law, that a lot of divorces are obviously ugly, but there are a lot that aren't. I mean, usually when there's a lot of money, they tend to be ugly. But to me, and this is my take on it, I think Mo has so much respect, not only for Kyle, but for his daughters. And if you've watched Buying Beverly Hills, you'll know the relationship that they have. That I think if Mo ever got dirty about the money, I think his daughters would be quite upset by that. And I think Mo wants to avoid that at all costs. And I think that's one of the main reasons. Besides his respect for Kyle, it's his respect for his daughters. And knowing how involved his daughters, I think, would get in that because of the way that they love their mother and they love their father. So honestly, I'd be surprised to see the divorce be anything but amicable. Of course, there are going to be fights. Of course, there are going to be things they disagree on. Of course, it's going to be tense, but I don't think it's going to get ugly. And then, of course, the episode ends with that scene between Dorit and PK. Now, I think it's one of the realest scenes we've probably seen with that couple, but the lack of emotion, once again, I think is very interesting. I don't judge. It really is just an observation. But man, it is always interesting as a viewer that we feel like we've been part of their lives for so long and we realize how much we truly don't know, which is normal, of course. Like we are watching a reality TV show, that's okay. But it is very interesting of like, damn, I can't imagine Dorit and PK speaking like that to each other. Like I just can't because Dorit's never let us see that. And by the way, I don't judge her for that. We don't have to see that. Your kids are gonna watch that. Like, that's okay. I don't need to see you guys yelling at each other. I really, really don't. But it's interesting that like we don't I at least didn't realize that that was even a possibility between the two. PK seems the most into the separation. I mean, he's obviously the one that asked for it. That's been made clear to us. And yeah, I find it quite shocking. And then that moment where he was I think they also edited a lot of the conversation out, which was like kind of frustrating because I really would sit down and just watch that full dinner. But when PK said, because Drew was like, oh, we talk 5 times a day. He's like, well, we're not going to anymore because we need to work on the detachment. To me, it has to do with other women more than it will have to do with the detachment. But that's just me. Men usually like to have a woman around. And if they don't, it's because they want another one around. That's my take on it. That could be slightly controversial and I would understand that, but that really is my take on it. So it's probably because he wants to like be with other women. I don't know. Sorry. That's what I think. But her being like, why can't we talk 5 times a day is really sad to me. And I don't think that they'll be at the other end of this. I really don't. Based on that conversation. We'll see how it goes throughout the season. We'll see what she says at the reunion, but I really have very, very little faith in that working out just because of the way that they're both approaching it. I don't know. But Beverly Hills is providing us with a fantastic season so far. The women are bringing it. And I'm excited to see how it continues to evolve. I really do want some resolution between Dorit and Kyle. I would like to see them support each other. I would like to see them come together and make their husbands a little bit nervous, but who knows if we're going to get it. We're going to have to stay tuned for that. And I'm loving Bose this season. And those are my thoughts on Beverly Hills. Let's move on to Salt Lake. Big episode. Not necessarily in the drama. I don't know how much there is to discuss in that regard. But the emotions that we got in this episode, of course, I'm talking about the scene between Mary and her son. Really powerful. I'll get into it in a sec. Let's start kind of more at the beginning of the episode. Now, the issue between Meredith and Mary is tough. I am kind of on neither side. I'm on Meredith's side in the sense of the way that, like, I think there was a miscommunication in the moment of Mary being like, get out of my house. Obviously, we as a viewer are able to clearly see her say, if you don't listen to me, you're going to have to get out of my house. But in that moment, I could understand Meredith misinterpreting it or not hearing the first part or getting it wrong or, that makes a lot of sense. So I understand her being uncomfortable and walking out. But I also understand Mary being like, that was really fucked up of you to leave my house because there is a miscommunication. Now, what was interesting in when Mary rolls up an hour late, Meredith had been like, listen, I think there's something up with her. Like, this is very uncharacteristic. And when Meredith went to ask, her attitude was a little bit high strung. Like, is everything good with you? Like, it didn't feel as sincere because I think she's riled up about other things. And then Mary didn't respond to anything. That was kind of Mary's moment, I think, to be like, yeah, I actually do have some stuff going on. But she didn't. And that's understandable as well. I could see myself not sharing in that moment, especially when you're about to have a little hash out with someone you're having drama with. But then Mary in her confessional says, obviously, we're not very close friends if she doesn't know what's going on in my life. But I don't think that's fair because I do think Meredith tried to ask and Mary didn't give her that information. And there's only so much blame Meredith can take for that. So I think it's sad to see where their friendship's at. I think they both love and care about each other. I'm hoping they're in a better place, maybe after watching the season and see what each other was really going through and maybe seeing the moments. But I don't know if Mary necessarily has that level of self-awareness in friendships, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And then we also get that moment between Lisa and Angie, which I love to see them communicate. I love the way that they both are able to ask each other, like, what do you need from me? Where did I go wrong? This is what I need from you. Very, very clear communication. Now, the only thing I will say about it is that I question whether Angie is actually a friend to Lisa in the way that Angie is saying she is. Now, I think Angie's an incredible person. I think Angie is a great friend. But particularly with Lisa this season, she has been talking a lot of shit. She just has. Like, Bronwyn was super on point with being like, you were talking shit about her and warning her against, like, hello, that happened. And Angie denied it. And it's like, no, we all watched it. So it makes me a little sad. And I don't think Angie and Lisa will maybe stay in a good place when Lisa watches that stuff back. But it does make me sad because I do feel like they are really good friends and they do really love each other. And I think there's a lot there. There's a great foundation there, but Angie's been talking shit. Angie's been talking shit, and I don't think Lisa's been talking shit about Angie. She's mainly talk shit in response to everything going on, but she hasn't come out of the gate talking shit about her. So, kind of weird. And then we have the campfire, the camp girl, whatever. I thought that was stupid. Sorry, whatever. I'm a hater. The only interesting thing I found from that was Mary and Lisa fighting over the Fendi jumpsuit. That was quintessential Housewives. Like, I was obsessed with that moment. I love it when there's just a stupid fight in the middle. It's just a breath of fresh air, and it reminds me that we're watching beautiful, delusional women. Like, I loved it. I have no complaints about that. But overall, didn't find the campfire thing interesting. It ended quite abruptly. I don't know. And then the Shabbat was beautiful and great, and Meredith looked beautiful. And I think it's a very interesting storyline, but nothing else to say there. And then we get to the big part of the episode, which was that scene between Mary and her son. Now, I had seen clips of it before because I watch it 24 hours after the episode airs because I'm in London. Obviously, we kind of knew what was coming, but wow, I was shocked at my reaction while watching. Because usually when I'm watching a big scene, I watch on my phone, which I know is like weird. But I'll exit my phone and then I'll go into my notes app and I'll take a note of like what I'm feeling in that moment when I'm really struck by it and when I know there's a lot coming and I know I'm going to be thinking and feeling a lot of things throughout the conversation. This is one of the scenes where I was like, I have to watch this one fully and not take a note break because it was so powerful and so vulnerable and emotional. And it was so intimate. And I was really struck at how candid he was with Mary. And like, there was no dancing around what drugs, there was no dancing around when, there was no dancing around any of it. It was black and white of what he's done, how he's feeling, and Mary's reaction to it. And that was maybe refreshing is kind of the wrong word, but refreshing and powerful. And as a viewer, it felt like we were there with them, and it feels like we are in that journey with them now. And the way he was so candid with her, I think speaks volumes to their relationship. Because of course, Mary has been talking about how close they are and how friendly with her, and we haven't really seen it because I think he's been in a state that is a little questionable. And in that moment, you see what she's talking about. That relationship that they have is there, and it was there in that scene. And so I'm grateful to Mary and to her son for showing that to us and allowing the cameras to be there. Now I've seen Ali Zarin? I don't know her last name now. Jill Zarin's daughter spoke out against it and was like, he's a 20-year-old kid. I'm like, first of all, 20-year-old kid, I don't know if those two words go together, but she was like, it was wrong for cameras to have been there in that moment because it's going to follow him forever. And listen, I think there's something to be said. I think there's truth to that. But I think it will do a lot of good to a lot of people. And I think it will make a difference. And I think it maybe will make a difference in his life when, I mean, we don't know how he's doing. I know he's doing well. We don't know what that means. We haven't seen him, of course. We haven't seen Mary talk about it since. So I don't know if I also feel like he got arrested or something happened with drug wise. I don't know if that's before or after this episode. Who knows? But I think maybe he will watch that and it will be a wake up call to him. And I think there are other people in the country and all over the world who will watch that and see signs either of themselves or of their loved ones. And I think it's impactful. And I do understand Ali being like, at what cost, And I think it's fair. But I personally stand on the ground of like, listen, they filmed it for a reason. Mary and her son decided to film it for a reason. Her son decided to talk about it for a reason. Now, who knows how maybe aware he was in the moment of what he was doing, considering he was high in the scene. But it was impactful. And, I personally don't have a lot of experience with substance abuse about people in my life or myself. So there's only so much I can speak to it. I probably really can't speak to it at all if we're being honest, but I feel like I learned something about it watching the scene, and it was definitely eye-opening. So, I'm sending a lot of positive thoughts to him and to Mary and to the family, and I have a lot of faith in him and his ability and the relationship and the support that they have for each other that he will get on the other side of it. So, yeah. Really intense Salt Lake episode. And then following that is the Roni episode, also very emotionally intense. Now, I'm not going to start, I think, with the abortion stuff quite yet. I'm going to give that its own moment. But at the beginning of the episode, we have the picnic. Good for Raquel, honestly, for calling Aaron out. I don't know why Aaron was so sensitive towards Raquel and like being so vicious towards her. I think Aaron needs to grow up a little bit in that respect of like, yeah, women are going to call you out. Like, they're going to call you, like, welcome to the housewives. Like, you're going to get called out for your bullshit. And like, that's the name of the fucking game, my friend. Like, I know you guys all call each other out in confessionals or call each other out to the other person, but like, cut the telephone, go straight to the person. This is how it should work, you know? And good on Raquel for being like, I'm confused. Let's get some clarity here. You obviously tried setting her up. Like, that's fucked up. Why'd you do that? Like, let's clarify it. So I didn't understand Aaron being so upset. Now, a big thing I realized about the prank is that I was so angry towards the women of thinking this was a good idea. It was horrible. We all know that. We're all in agreement. Now, what I didn't realize I was upset about. Now, I also didn't realize I was upset at Bravo because the editors showed us the prank in a very unhelpful manner because we got pranked too. And I don't think we needed to get pranked. I think the reason they're showing us the prank is because they had to show us the leaky pigeon stuff. They have to show us the way it's causing like a fallout in the group. It's obviously a topic of conversation for a few scenes. And it's impacting the way the women are seeing Aaron. It impacted the way women see Brynn. Like, it was important to show us a prank. They didn't have to bring us along on the prank. They could have shown us the scene of Rebecca saying, I want to do this prank. They should have showed us the scene of Aaron agreeing to it. They should have shown us the scene of Aaron telling the women and then telling Raquel so that we're not thinking this entire time that it's true. That's where the prank really, truly went wrong. And Bravo's to blame at the fans, the viewers' reaction to it. 100%. Because the prank itself, yeah, was super stupid, but I would have viewed it completely differently if it had been edited differently. So yeah, that was a big realization. Now, just like in general, she seems like a lovely woman with a great heart, but I really have no interest in her on my screen. There's no chemistry. There's no chemistry. I don't know what else to say about it. And I know her and Sai are like really good friends, and I think what they have is real. But the scene of them, I'm like, I get nothing from this. And I think Sai is very compelling in her interviews, in her confessionals. I think she's compelling in some other moments, but she doesn't stick out. And her and Uba certainly do not. And like the scene of them discussing things, what they were saying was like kind of interesting, but like I was like, I'm so bored. It's insane. Like, I never fast forward through Bravo. I fast forward through Roni all the time, but I think we're all on the same page there. Okay, now let's get to the big part of the episode, which is, of course, abortion. I'm so incredibly impressed by Erin. I'm grateful for her sharing this story and using the platform in this way. I think it's so incredibly powerful. And I'm very much a proponent of destigmatizing abortion. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if this is the platform for me to be discussing my personal opinions on abortion, but this idea that women don't get affected by it and they just have it at 18 years old and go on their merry life without guilt or without being impacted emotionally by it, like, no. Like, women will deal with it for the rest of their lives, and we're seeing that. And I think that was really powerful. And I also have to give a big round of applause to Jenna for taking that moment and saying, I'm going to share my story too. And she probably wasn't expecting to do that. And she did it, it seems, without hesitation. And so we got to give the women their flowers. We really, really, really do. I think there's a lot of women who are going to be watching who are going to be upset by the conversation, who are going to be offended by the conversation, who are going to be offended by the story. But there are going to be so many more women who are going to either see themselves in the story or maybe it opens their eyes to the reality of abortion. And yeah, just destigmatizing it. I think it's so profound, truly, and impactful. And that moment that we have of Jenna and Aaron talking about their experiences with it, and they're women who are mothers now, and seeing the way they've grown from these experiences. And, you know, Jenna's story really was also striking to me in that she was like, "I told the guy not to come inside of me, and he did, and then I'm the one that gets left with the issue." And I think that's like, a lot of women, like once again, I'm, like, struggling not to give my full thoughts on abortion, but I know women get so much of the blame, and they have the whole burden on them, when if men didn't come inside of women, the women wouldn't have to get abortions. Like, it's never discussed. Like, it's never discussed that a man did that and is the reason the woman has to have the abortion. Like, it blows my mind. But anyways, so I appreciate Jenna giving us those details because I think it is important, and it is an important part of the conversation. And I'm just really proud of them. I know I've talked a lot of shit about them, and I will continue to talk a lot of shit of the Roni women. I think they're not providing us with good TV. But listen, if you're gonna have a shitty season, at least have a powerful moment that's impactful, you know, on a bigger scale. And so shout out once again to Aaron and to Jenna for their vulnerability. And then, God, that moment between Aaron and her father, considering her father has since passed, is just heart-wrenching, I think is the only word for it. Truly, I mean, beautiful that she gets to see this moment in the last few months of her father's life, of him being just incredibly supportive to her without batting an eyelid. It's powerful. There's only so much I can say about it besides that. And so, yeah, beautiful TV. I watched Roni and Salt Lake back to back. And so I was like, whoa, emotions are high. So, but honestly, applause to the women for showing us the heavy parts of their lives. Okay, now let's move on and end with Potomac. Wow. Okay, the Mia storyline is bad. It's such a bad storyline. And when she says, "I don't think Gordon realizes how much him going into mania affects me and the children." Girl, read the room. I think if he could stop his mania, he fucking would. Like, I think he knows his mania is bad. But like when he's in the mania, he can't see that because that's part of mania, right? Like, am I going crazy here? Like, am I like what? Like, how is she making it about her? And she's obviously going to be impacted by it. I think she should obviously talk about how she's impacted by it. But she's putting him down in the same sentence. Instead of being like, listen, his mania impacts us all and it's tough on all of us. She's like, I don't think you realize how it impacts me. Oh, she said, no. Whoa. Let me not get this twisted. What the craziest part about that was she said, I don't think Gordon realizes how much his mania affects me, Ink, and the children. The fact that the children did not come before Ink in that sentence goes fucking crazy. It really, the mania should only affect you and the children. Ink doesn't need to be involved in that. And it affects him. Sorry, too bad. Fucking that one's on you, baby. Like, Ink before the children goes crazy to me. Mia's nuts. And there's something really likable about Mia, that it's hard for her to be a full villain, but like that goes fucking crazy. Like, just thinking about it, I find it so fucking offensive. Um Also, dare I say, in terms of the things that he was like freaking out about on camera in his quote unquote mania moment, I'm like, everything he's bitching about is like super fucking fair. Like, you did have affairs. Like, you did get pregnant while you were married to him. Like, he looks at Ink and he is gonna think of the man who my wife cheated with. Like, those are very fair moments. Like, him getting along with Ink gives me more mania than him being mad at Ink. Does that make sense? Like, am I being controversial there? I don't even know. But yeah, wild freaking storyline. Not a fan of it. And then we have Karen's legal situation. I think very fair. It's tough to experience. I'm sure, it sucks that we really don't have a great understanding of what's going on, but I don't blame her. I also think the way she's handling it and approaching it for television is correct. I know people want her to apologize or take accountability. It's like, well, you shouldn't take accountability until you've gone through the law, especially if you're fighting it. So, yeah. Yeah, the women need to back up a little bit, quite honestly, but they're not going to, nor do I blame them, but whatever. And then we have Wendy's birthday party, which was beautiful and looked fun. And I love Ashley being like, it's also my birthday. I thought that was funny. Yeah, it was just Ashley being a classic Gemini. So, you know, to be expected. I'm also Gemini, so I can say that. And yeah, I thought the party was beautiful. The moment between Mia and Wendy's mother was hilarious to me. Wendy's mother is terrifying. I would not like to have to argue with her. That's for fucking sure. Yeah, it was a fun party, and then we see TJ's a dick. TJ is a weirdo, and he's rude. And that relationship with Stacy is super fucking questionable. And you know what the biggest red flag about TJ is? Men who fight or get mad at you with a smile on their face. Scary. Run for the hills, run for those. Obviously, I know they're in front of people, so, like, he can't, like, actually get mad at her, but, like, I appreciate the way Todd does it with Bronwyn of, like, "Don't say that." Like, you could tell he's not fucking around, versus TJ is, like, being fucking fake and weird and intense. I did not like it. Did not like it at all. I'm not a fan of his. Well, I don't know if anyone is. And then, of course, I think the episode ends with Giselle being like, "Weird flex, Mia. You were crying at our event about Gordon and then posting on Instagram about how they're getting along, and, like, we don't know what's going on, and, like, it's not very chill, and, like, I don't know what you want from us, and it feels manipulative, and I'm not a fan of it, and I'm not buying it." Super appreciated that because I think that's what the viewers are thinking as well. And I'm excited to see what Mia says by the fathers of my children goes fucking crazy. That woman is toxic and puts men above her children. Is that controversial for me to say? Probably. But I don't know if I really care because I think it's fucking true. Um, I think it's super toxic and she also not only puts, sorry, dare I say, she doesn't only put men in front of her children, she's putting storylines in front of her children. So, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all. So I appreciate Giselle calling it out. And yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on Potomac. I think that's pretty much all my thoughts on everything. Yeah, I think there are going to be a few more solo episodes for me coming. I think, by the way, just December is such a hard time to get guests on. And the weekends are really difficult and really busy for people. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of That's My Opinion Pod. I'm looking forward to everything that's airing on Bravo and breaking it down with you guys and sharing my opinions. So I will see you next week.